I think that your work is anomalous in this field because the overwhelming incentives, the power law distribution of the content that thrives in a platform method of distribution, whether that's Instagram or streaming music or whatever it happens to be, when there's not an editor or a gatekeeper or a curator in place, most of that content, most of that material is just dopaminergic slop. It's just bad work, and there's no space for art.
Yes.
I can't think of another mainstream artist that would dare to put a fucking piece of performance art in the middle of their rock show.
Yeah.
That just simply doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
And so this disappearance of the possibility or space for art in society, if we cede everything to the platforms, algorithmic filtration, recommendation of everything, we're going to have a society without art. We're going to have a society with just content, and it's going to be vertical videos, slop, feeding culture into the meat grinder and just spitting out TikTok reels on the other side.
Also, and if we allow that to happen to more entertainment, because you can, let's put art as in the realm of, art is great when you've eaten and you're not having an argument with a loved one.
No, that's true.
You're not interested in art if you're hungry or if you're having serious issues. So let's call art entertainment. Yes, if we allow the decimation of art, or if we allow art to become completely For You pageified, the same thing will happen to all human experience, which is one of the dangerous things about the phone. What Silicon Valley understands about the phone is that a lot of people will say this thing, which is true. I know about my phone use and how it's dangerous, but I need my phone. I need my phone for work. I need my phone in case someone contacts me. That's true. The problem that we have is that the way the apps are laid out and prioritized is flat. So you will get a notification about somebody that you've never met in your life liking a photo that you made 3 weeks ago with the same tenacity or priority as a text message from your mum. So we just bounce between genuinely authentic human experience, talking to people, to just going on Reddit for 10 minutes and then flitting back between it. And I think that the flattening out of all experience and the incentivization of short-term pleasure over long-term satisfaction is a problem. You know, like long-term satisfaction was what I was trying to go to with the show. You know, it's a bit like, you can't make a TikTok at the beginning of this show and understand it without watching the whole show. Like the first chapter of a book doesn't have any context or make sense until you've read the whole book. Do you know what I mean? But that's not the way we operate anymore. I don't have time to read a whole book. Do you know what I mean? So that's what my show was trying to do in a world of short-term pleasure incentives, the dopamine, the like, the chocolate bar, the wank, versus the walk, the making the meal, the meaningful conversation, as you would call something part of normal life maxing, do you know what I mean? Which is really important to practice. But just to go back to the point that we were talking about before, about how alternative culture has been a confusing idea for a long time, that I was talking about how I was hated. The reason I was hated back in the day is because we came out as a band, and every band that got signed over us was a band that was essentially doing an impression of the Arctic Monkeys. So what they were saying is a band has to be kind of from an economically deprived place in order to have authenticity. It needs to be kind of gritty. It needs to reference the kind of, at the time, the aesthetics of post-punk. So like, you know, all of your Joy Division, industrialization, Thatcherism-y kind of brutalism, all those kind of things. And we just didn't adhere to any of that. And because I was saying we create in the way that we consume. So we were like hated for essentially being a band that was the opposite of heavy. And I was like, well, after The Shape of Punk to Come came out.
Incredible album.
The last punk album. And it knew that. Anybody who wants, you have to get into Refused. You have to find the documentary. It's only on YouTube in Swedish, about when their last show got shut down. and they split up. They split up because they were politically so different.
Wow.
Can you imagine that now?
Yeah.
They just couldn't politically align, so they split up. And in their last show, the cops came. It makes me want to cry. I get chills thinking about it. The cops came in, and all of their fans turned around and shouted the line from Rather Be Dead, I'd rather be alive. And they're just shouting, I'd rather be alive, I'd rather be alive, as Refused physically disbanded on stage. Like, incredible, right? For me, when I saw that, I thought, I can't do something heavy that touches on that. Because for me, heavy was like, unless you're like Glassjaw, Converge, Refused, or further than that, heavy's fucking lame. Do you know what I mean? Like, since hair metal, heavy's lame. So, so the reason we're not heavy, and we can do heavy all day long, but we're not because it wasn't new. We wanted to be something quite new. Now, the only thing I could think of at the time of being new was being representative of this new form of cultural consumption, which is everything, everywhere, all at once.